saxophone someplace far away. She was walking by the arcade. A light burst through the beat of shade where he was waking up. She dropped the coin into the cup of that blonde and forgot about the simple twist of fate. He woke up, the room was bad. He didn't see her anywhere. He told himself he didn't care. Pushed the window open wide. Felt an emptiness inside to which he just could not relate. Brought on by the simple twist of fate. He hears the ticking of the clocks, walks along with a parrot that talks, hunts her down by the waterfront dock as the sailors all come in. Hope she'll pick him out again out on the seaway. One more time for a simple twist of fate. People tell me it's a sin to know we feel too much within. I do believe she was my twin, and I lost the ring. She was born in spring, and I was born too late. Blame it on a simple festival was over and the boys were all planning for the ball. The cabaret was quiet except for the drilling in the wall. The curfew had been lifted and the memory was shut down. Anyone within the sense had already left town. We stood in the doorway looking like the Jack of Hearts. He strode across the mirror room, set 'em up for everyone, he said. Then everyone commenced to do what they were doing before they turned their head. He walked over to a stranger and he asked him with a grin, "Could you kindly tell me, friend, what time the show begins?" Then he moved into the corner, face down like a Jack of Hearts. Backstage, the girls were playing 5 cards, stood by the stairs. Lily had 2 queens, she was hoping for a third to match her pair. Outside, the streets were filling up, their window was open wide. A gentle breeze was blowing, you could feel it from inside. Lily called another bed and drew up the Jack of Hearts. Big Jim was no one's fool from the town's only diamond mine. He did whatever he had to do. Big Jim was no one's fool from the town's only diamond mine. He made his usual entrance, looking so dandy and so fine. With his bodyguards and silver cane and every hair in place, he took whatever he wanted to, laid it all to waste. His bodyguards and his silver cane were no match for the Jack of Hearts. Lily was a princess, she was fair-skinned, had presence as a child. She did whatever she had to do, she had that certain flash in her smile. She had come away from a broken home and lots of strange affairs. With men in every walk of life, which took her everywhere. But she never met anyone quite like the Jack of Hearts. Rosemary combed her hair and took a carriage into town. She slipped into the side door, looking like a queen without a crown. She fluttered her false eyelashes and she whispered in his ear, "Sorry, darling, that I'm late," but he didn't seem to hear. He was staring into space over at the Jack of Hearts. I know I've seen that face somewhere. Big Jim was thinking to himself, maybe down in Mexico or a picture on somebody's shelf. But then the crowd began to stamp their feet and the house lights grew dim. And in the darkness of the room, there's only Jim and him, staring at the butterfly wings held the Jack of Hearts. The hanging judge came in, noticed, and he was being wined and dined. The drilling in the wall kept up, but no one seemed to pay it any mind. There was no one around that needed more than Jim's ring, and nothing would ever come between Lily and the king. Nothing ever would, except maybe the Jack of Hearts. Lily washed her face, took her dress off, and she made her head away. As your Lily had her arms locked around the man she dearly loved to touch. She kept thinking about the man she couldn't stand, who hounded her so much. I'm glad you're here with me. Thought she was sincere, but just beyond the doorway lay jealousy and fear. Just another day in the life of the Jack of Hearts. But in this circumstance, they say that it happened pretty quick. The door to the dressing room burst open and Coleman had no place. And Big Jim was standing there, seemingly surprised. Rosemary lies beside him, she had study in her eyes. She was with Big Jim, but she was leaning towards the Jack of Hearts. Two doors down, the boys have finally made it through the wall. They cleaned out the bank safe and said they got all their hall. In the darkness of the riverbed, they waited on the ground for one number who had been staying down. They could go no further without the Jack of Hearts. The next day was hanging day, the sky was overcast and black. Big Jim lay covered up, killed by a penknife in the back. And Rosemary on the gallows there, she didn't even blink. And the hanging judge was somewhere he hadn't had a drink. The only person on the scene missing was the Jack of Hearts. The cabaret was quiet now, his sign said closed for repair. Lily had already taken all of the dye out of her hair. She was thinking about her father, who she had very rarely saw. She was thinking about Rosemary, and she was thinking about the law. But most of all, she was thinking of the Jack of Hearts.